actually benefit from it. And most of those who misinterpret, whether accidentally or intentionally, or do it based on the fact they don't know where they are. They don't know what the surah is talking about. They have no idea what the surah is trying to bring forward. And once you bring that forward in a very simple way, even, it becomes much easier. You can't go wrong once you know what the surah is talking about. You can't make a mistake in terms of interpreting the verses, understanding what they're trying to say. At least that's how I see it. So we're in a cluster of surahs starting Surah Al-Ahzab, we'll come to Zumar. Now all these surahs, what they talk about, they talk about the concept of submission. Or ta'a, or obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as I explained previously, this may seem like a very generic topic to talk about, but it really isn't. It actually is very specific to being a Muslim. When you acknowledge or you realize that you have free will, and you're the only creature that is walking around with free will, you can choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do on every level of your existence. And then after you acknowledge that, you realize that, and it's something that you cherish, it's all you really own in this world. It's all that you really have. Everything else can be taken away from you. All that you really are is just that ability to choose. Like, that's your dignity and that's your integrity. Is my ability, I will do what I want to do and not what others want to do. And that's why slavery is something that is internationally and globally, historically, something that is frowned upon, because you're taking people's freedom away. That's the only thing that they really have. You could be very poor, you could be not well educated, you could be socially compromised and challenged, you could be all these things, but you still have your choices. You still are the you have the steering wheel under your hand. You're still choosing which way your car, your ship is going to sail. So when we understand that and we say, Ya Rabb, we are going to give up our free will to yours. We're going to use our free will. We're going to choose to give up our free will to yours. We're going to submit to you. Our will is whatever your will is, Ya Rabb. That's a big choice, because you're giving up the most sacred thing that you have and the most important thing that you have. Why do you think fathers and sons fight at a certain age? Think about it for a moment. It's very simple. He's ready to, okay, Jazakallah khair, you've been driving the car for a while, Baba, Jazakallah khair, open the door, please, get down. It's my car and I want to drive it. And you're like, no, you don't know how, sit back. Ya Habibi, I understand, but it's my car, it's my free will. So he's ready to take control of his life. He can, now of course, he may not know how to drive. Okay, let me rephrase it. He doesn't know how to drive yet. He's going to crash a couple of times, but it's still his. You have your car. Go drive yours. You may not like it because it's all beat up and old, but you want someone else's, but it's still yours. And that's why people fight, because we want to impose our will on the will of others. It's really all it is. Wallahi, it's as simple as that. We just, parents want to impose their will on the will of their children. And children, as all human beings on the planet, they want to have their own. This is all they have. That's all they really own is their free will, and you're trying to take it away from them. It doesn't make any sense. It never made sense to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Obviously, I don't have kids that are that old yet, so don't judge me. But I do think it's important that that point is understood, because I don't understand. I don't know how I'm going to go about when I have my son is older. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I could be totally hypocritical right now and do the opposite when he's older. But I don't think it's right. Like, I may do it, but but I'm definitely going to be wrong. It's important that we guide them, we help them, we educate them, we prepare them, and then we just have to let them make choices. And then we have to be there to help pick up the pieces and help teach them, or else how else are they going to learn how to live if they don't have the ability to exercise their free will? And I've seen the opposite. I've seen the parents who are extremely controlling, and the kids who are submissive and will be totally controlled. And I see how it turns out when they're a bit older. And I don't like the picture. I'd rather the other side. I'd rather them make their own choices, make mistakes. Hopefully, inshallah, the seed that you put in there will grow, will come to fruition, and they'll come back and be good people. Sometimes they won't. You're not better than Nuh alayhi salam. At the end, you're not better than Nuh alayhi salam. His son didn't do it. And he was drowning and he still didn't do it. He died and he still didn't do it. So you're not better than him, alayhi salatu wasalam. So if it happens to you, don't It's not necessarily your fault, but it's extremely important that this point is understood. This is what these surahs talk about. They talk about your free will, you're submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the forms of submission, when we submit, how. These surahs look at submission from every single possible angle. And you'll see, right now it may not be as clear to you, but as we go through the surahs, this will become a very clear picture. Surah Al-Ahzab, for example, talked about that specifically. Submitting to His will when it's really hard to do so. When it's hard physically, when it's hard emotionally, when it's hard psychologically, when it's hard socially, when it's hard financially to do so. So the importance of submitting when it's really difficult, when you don't want to do it, and you have all the right reasons not to want to do it, but you still have to do it anyway. So let's look at the same concept, but from a communal perspective, from a society, from a civilizational aspect. Looking at how do societies submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do societies submit? And if they do, then what is that going to look like? And what is the opposite picture going to look like? And this is what we got to study in the two stories of Dawood and Sulaiman and what they built, and Saba and what they built. And they were in the same period. Just maybe 1,000 kilometers away from each other in the south and the north. However, they operated very differently, and then the outcomes for them were very different as well. After that, the ayat began with a series of qul. And when you have 3 or 4 or 5 or sometimes 6 verses that have qul, qul, qul in a row, and you'll find them in the Quran all over the place. And what do they do really? They do one of 3 things. Either they are teaching you a perspective. This is how you're supposed to walk around publicly. This is what you're supposed to be saying publicly, openly. This is who you are. So with certain things you hold back, you don't have to express to everyone. And certain things you have to be open. Everyone has to know them. You shouldn't be holding them back. Like qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad. This is what you are. This is who you are. This is what represents you. You're very open about that. You don't hold it back. It's a perspective. The same thing with Qul a'udhu rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu rabbin nas. These are perspectives. These are how we look at things. If you understand those 3 surahs in that way, by the way, it changes everything. It changes the way you actually deal with them, because this is your anthem. This is what represents you. Another way, another thing that it does is that it lays down the dialogue. It tells us how we're supposed to be talking to others. Like what is it? What narrative we're supposed to have when we're going back and forth to other people or other communities or those who are a bit different. And another one is debate. A third one is issues of debate. So it will bring up an issue that is of debate, and it will show you how to debate it and what you're supposed to say. So these are the 3 basic usages of qul coming in a row. Here, so how do you know which one it is? Well, it's really just the context kind of tells you. Here, because Surat Saba is talking about communities, it's already given you 2 examples. It already showed you what's right and what's wrong. And then it's going to go through a bunch of qul, 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 say these things. It's telling you how you're supposed to have a dialogue with them. What is the perspective you're having with these people? What is it you're going to say to those who are very, very different than you? And when you look at them, what have the issues been so far? So the first issue is the clarity of what you believe in from a theological perspective, from an ideological aspect. What is it that you believe in that they differ from you on? That you're very clear right off the bat. You don't compromise these points. These points to you are undebatable. They don't change. That's a very important part of diversity, is making sure that the lines between us are clear. There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it opens the door to healthier and much more mature conversations and coexisting or coexistence in general. When we have clarity on what is it that makes us a bit different, when there's clarity on it, it's not to emphasize the differences. It's not to play on the fear factor that is used with these differences. It's just to make it clear that there are differences, that we are not acting like there aren't. No, there are, and that's okay. And it's okay for us to be different. There's nothing wrong with groups of people being different, having different beliefs and different ethical codes and different rulings that they live by. There's really nothing wrong with that. So explaining that off the bat is important. That's why the first 2 verses were very clear in that aspect. After that, we got 2 ayat that said, وَإِنَّا أَوْ إِيَّاكُمْ لَعَلَى هُدًى أَوْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. It's either us or you who is guided or on a path of complete misguidance. وَإِنَّا أَوْ إِيَّاكُمْ. It's either us or you. So when we're talking to these people, this is what the Quran is saying. I'm not making this up. When we're talking to them, we don't come with the perspective or with the narrative that you are wrong and we are 100% right, and we don't need any evidence to prove this. And it doesn't matter what the data says. It's just we're right and you're wrong because we have the Quran and you don't. That's not how it's done. It's not how it's done. It's وَإِنَّا أَوْ إِيَّاكُمْ لَعَلَى هُدًى. It's either us or you. A time will prove this. practical evidence basically of practice and of behaviors will prove this. Meaning, when you live, when societies live the life of Muslim society and they function as Islamic communities, the outcomes will be the judge. It's the outcomes that will be the judge. Who did it work out for better? Who has a stronger community? Who is more, who holds on to their, who supports their weak within society more? Who is more, who has higher levels of education? Who has less levels of corruption? That's how it's judged. It's the outcome. So when now it's going to be based on how we function. Basically, these are the concepts that we live by. You live by something different. That's fine. It's either you or us who's going to be right or wrong. قُلْ لَا تُسْأَلُونَ عَمَّا أَجْرَمْنَا وَلَا نُسْأَلُ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. You're not going to be asked about what mistakes we make, and we won't be asked Yawm al-Qiyamah about what you do. You know, what you guys end up doing, we're not going to be held accountable for it, just like we're not going to be held accountable for whatever mistakes we make. عَمَّا أَجْرَمْنَا. This is what the Quran is using. It used the word mistakes when referring to ourselves, and just regular deeds when referring to the other person. That's the level of adab that these ayat are using. That I'm not going to say, it's not like, okay, you're not going to be asked about what I do, and I'm not going to be held accountable for all the musibah you're going to make. No, it's the opposite. If I make a musibah, you're not going to be asked about it, so don't be too interested in what I'm doing. If I make a mistake, you're not going to be held accountable for it, just like I'm not going to be held accountable for whatever you do, in a very generic way, because what Muslims have always wanted, from the day the Prophet ﷺ announced it on Jabal al-Safa, is just the ability to speak freely about what the deen has in it, and spread it freely amongst people, and for everyone to have the chance to actually listen to it and believe in it if they want to. That's all it's ever been. All the wars we have in his life, during his life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was just for that, because they would not allow him to do so. They were not allowing him to speak about Islam openly. They weren't allowing the Arabic tribes to actually accept Islam if they wanted to. You were going to be oppressed, transgressed against, and sometimes persecuted if you did, and that wasn't acceptable. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, that's not how it's going to work. They're going to have freedom of choice, and once they do, they choose what they want. And it's just a matter of rational debate. This is how we function. And now that's for you. You're not going to be held accountable for what we do. We're not going to be held accountable for what you do. It's going to be based on whatever logical or rational arguments we have. And outcomes. Outcomes are important. Outcomes are really important. Sometimes in the midst of understanding destiny, we misunderstand what's being said, and we think that what the Shaykh is saying or what the Imam is explaining is that destiny takes care of things, doesn't matter what the outcomes are. That's never the point. When I tell you that you don't control the results of things, you can't control it. It's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am not inviting you to be a failure. I'm not inviting you to fail and blame God for it. That's not what I'm doing here at all. And if that's what you understood, that's something you chose to understand based on what you heard. But that's not the idea at all. You're supposed to strive for success. You're supposed to plan for success. You're supposed to prepare yourself and prepare those around you to actually succeed. But if it doesn't happen, then you understand it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. This is how it's supposed to work. If things don't turn out the way you wanted them to turn out, you've done everything possible. You've tried in every way. You really didn't. You had no shortcomings. You didn't hold back. You exhausted every resource. You planned for success, and it didn't work out. It's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rest assured, then you're okay. All right, because it's very hard to work really, to work sincerely towards something for a long period of time and it not work out. It's devastating for the human psyche. It's hard to accept. A lot of people lose their faith or lose their motivation, or become very depressed, or start drinking, or start doing drugs, or become suicidal because of failures in their lives. Failures. They didn't meet an inner expectation that they had. That inner expectation wasn't wrong to have. It didn't have the right context. It wasn't understood properly. If you understand, that's why Islam is important for you to understand the perspectives it gives you. Aim really high. Just understand how to do it. Just make sure it's clear to you how you're going to aim really high. And there has to be the proper context. It has to be contextualized in the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in understanding the command and destiny of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do that, then you're always going to be okay. Islam is always going to have your back. Always going to be fine. No matter what happens, no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times you fall, you're going to be okay. Because you understand what your job is, you understand how this whole system works, the dynamics of it between you and God, and you're fine. You're not holding him responsible for a deal that he never made with you. You're not holding. See, when you expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you something, that you want and you've worked hard for, you're basically holding him to a deal that he never made with you. He never told you, I'm going to give it to you if you do 1, 2, and 3. He never told you that. He told you just work hard, be the best you can, and I'll take care of the rest of it. What I do ensure you, what I'm going to promise you is Jannah. Jannah's waiting for you. You're going to walk in with both feet and spend the rest of eternity there. In dunya, it's just hold on, just do your thing. I can't promise anything. So if you're holding your whole life on a promise in dunya that you're waiting for and it doesn't happen, this could be an issue. It could be problematic. قُلْ لَا تُسْأَلُونَ عَمَّا أَجْرَمْنَا وَلَا نُسْأَلُ عَمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. You're not going to be asked about what mistakes we made, nor will we be asked about what you did or held accountable. قُلْ يَجْمَعُ بَيْنَنَا رَبُّنَا. Tell them, say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Lord, will gather us on a certain day, on a day to come. ثُمَّ يَفْتَحُ بَيْنَنَا بِالْحَقِّ. And then He'll judge amongst us or between us righteously and with truth. وَهُوَ الْفَتَّاحُ الْعَلِيمُ. And He's the one who judges and opens the doors of truth and righteousness. وَالْعَلِيمُ. And the one who is all-knowing. So, okay, you don't like what I'm doing? Okay, that's fine. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. I won't be asked about what you're doing. I can be asked what I'm doing. And on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us together and He'll make the judgment. He'll say who was right and who was wrong. He'll say who was guided and who was misguided. He will hold everyone accountable for what they did. And He'll also point to who was doing it right and who was doing it wrong. This is how we dialogue. This is our debate. This is our dialogue with the non-Muslim communities. It's as simple as that. We're in a competition of who's going to be more successful. And if we're more successful, then we can, pass along that success to others. And you'll see that in a moment in how that mentality is supposed to be spread. But it's not a matter of civilizations colliding. We're not looking towards colliding, unless there is clear oppression and there's clear persecution of rights, and people are being deprived of their human rights. Then there's really no reason for collision. It's a matter of you do what you want to do. Live by the codes you want to live by the however you want to live, and we'll do the same. And then there'll be a time where this will all be clarified. And you're saying, and this is the Quranic narrative, not something that I want you to believe because we're living in Canada. No, this is what the Quran is saying. This is actually how communities are supposed to communicate. This is the way of doing it. Okay, so we are not done yet. There's still two more ayat that have qul in it that will bring up a few more points. We'll read them inshallah, and then we'll hopefully have enough time to start a new chapter in the surah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So we start from ayah 27 inshallah. قل أروني الذين ألحقتم به شركاء. قل أروني الذين ألحقتم به شركاء. كلا بل هو الله العزيز الحكيم. كلا بل هو الله العزيز الحكيم. وما أرسلناك إلا كافة للناس. وما أرسلناك إلا كافة للناس. So you have two med. You have the first one, wama, and that's just a 4 count, and then kafa is a 6 count. Look after the word kafa, you see the word fa, the letter fa has a shadda on it. Whenever you see a med, the cowboy hat, right? And you see the med, and after it there's a shadda, then that's a 6 count med. You do 6 counts. And if you don't see a shadda, it's most likely going to be a 4 count. There are a few exceptions to the rule, but most likely that's what's going to be. Bashiran wa nadhira. ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. قل لكم ميعاد يوم لا تستأخرون عنه. قل لكم ميعاد يوم لا تستأخرون عنه ساعة ولا تستقدمون. لا تستأخرون عنه ساعة ولا تستقدمون. So this is the end of the 4th chapter of the surah. قُلْ أَرُونِيَ الَّذِينَ أَلْحَقْتُمْ بِهِ شُرَكَاءَ كَلَّا. Say, show me the ones whom you have claimed to be associates with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Aruni, show me. Alladhina, the ones. Alhaqtum, that you have added to the group. So ulhiqa shay'u bi shay' means something has been added to another group. It's like you're gathering everything, and just before you close the door, okay, just get a few more people in and then close up. That's what alhaq. Or you're adding. It's basically addition, but not a numeric addition. It's more adding to a group, making someone a part of something that he wasn't initially or originally a part of to begin with. So alhaqtum bihi shuraka, the ones that you have added to his group as associates, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created everything, and then you added to that group. Oh yeah, he didn't do it alone. They had, okay, this guy here and this thing here and all that also did it as well. So show me who is it that who created with him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Show me their abilities. Let me see what they did. Kalla, you can't do it. You don't have the ability to do it. But go ahead. Again, it's a request. If you can do it, well, listen. If you can prove to me, you can show me someone else who made any of this, who created any of this from nothing, or brought life forward, or gave it purpose, then bring them forward. You can't? Okay, then stop. Stop acting like you can, or stop claiming that there's someone else besides him, or stop disbelieving in him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Kalla, bal huwa Allahu. No, the issue, the actual issue is, or the reality of the matter is, he is only him. It's only him. Huwa Allah, al-Aziz al-Hakim, the unfathomable, Jalla Jalaluhu, al-Hakim, the all-wise. Al-Aziz meaning the one who you cannot ever actually understand. Whenever you see the word name Aziz in the Quran, there's always an element of our lack. It's always a name that reminds us that we can never really figure him out fully. We can understand certain things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but other things I don't have answers for you. If you start asking me, okay, well, what is he like exactly? Well, if he's beyond time and space, well, how does that work? Well, why did he create all this? Why? I don't know. I have no answer for you. No one does, really. At the end of the day, no one really does. He is but he is the all-wise, subhanahu, so that should be enough for you. I mean, you should rest assured that he is the all-wise. Whatever you see done or happening is within his wisdom, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So nothing's going to go unmeasured, unrewarded, or unpunished, and nothing is random in it. Well, huwa Allahu al-Aziz al-Hakim, but he is unfathomable, subhanahu. You can't really understand it all. Some parts of it are a bit beyond us. Not all of it, but some parts of it. Some issues of the essence of the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala himself are one step too far, or just something that we won't get a clear exposure to until Yawm al-Qiyamah, until you are in Jannah, inshallah. You get exposed to maybe some truths that you can't comprehend in dunya. See, the Prophet ﷺ, when he was on the night of Mi'raj, went up to the sky, and he made it to the seventh sky, and where Ibrahim alayhi salam was, and they thought that he had reached the highest because that's where the Bayt al-Ma'mur is, and that's where. And Jibreel said, no, there's still one more. Yes, we're going up a bit more. So he goes up a bit more to a place called Surat Saba. And for the life of me, if you decide to go study Sidratul Muntaha, and I had a friend in university who wanted to write his thesis on Sidratul Muntaha. He gave up after 3 weeks and he changed his thing immediately. It's very difficult to write it on something like that. It's very hard because we don't really know. No one. There's so many different opinions. It's just a place. What it's like and what's happening, we don't know. This is something kind of beyond us. To make that point even clearer, when he came back sallallahu alaihi wasallam from that higher place where he was alone and no one else was, even Jibreel didn't make it that far, and he was asked, what did you see? He couldn't describe it. قال فأسقط في يده لا يجد له وصفا وهو أفصح العرب, and he is the one who is most capable linguistically sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the most eloquent speaker you'd ever listen to alayhi salatu wasallam. Very fasih. However, he couldn't explain what he saw. نور أن أراه, it's just light. I don't know. The Quran itself says the same thing. إذ يغشى السدرة ما يغشى. As the sidra, the place, was covered and smothered, With what? With whatever it was smothered with. That's what the ayah actually says. Ma yaghsha. Whatever it was, we don't know. It's not going to make sense of it. It's something a bit, which is one step beyond what we can actually understand in dunya. It's not to make you feel bad about yourself or less intelligent. It's just there are certain things about Him subhanahu wa ta'ala that maybe within the life that we live, in the place that we are, and the ability of our little brains, maybe just one step further. You will find out, inshallah. You will be more educated about this, inshallah. May say, inshallah, you go to Jannah and you find your way there, and you get to, again, I think the biggest na'im you'll find in Jannah is the na'im of the knowledge you're going to be able to be exposed to. You can learn everything. Don't you want? Yeah, I don't know. I need to sit in a theater like station, and he has to show me how everything happened here. Like I need to be explained. History has to be explained to me from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's perspective. I need to know what happened. I'm not going to be able to enjoy Jannah until He explains to me actually what happened. You want to know things. We don't realize that. We don't realize that knowledge is what makes you. It makes you happy. It really does. The more knowledge, the more useful knowledge you have, the happier you can be. That's why it's important that we educate our kids on, or we teach our kids that concept that knowledge is power, and it's also happiness. Specifically, if you learn the right stuff. Now, there's a lot of useless pieces of knowledge that you can have. You can know exactly where to what type of sniper rifle to buy, and counter strike, and where to stand and what angle to have to get a headshot every time. It's a useless piece of knowledge. Like, yeah, you know something, but that's not. But even that piece of knowledge makes you happy. Even that silly piece of knowledge still makes you happy. Knowing anything properly gives the human being a lot of satisfaction and a lot of joy. And the more you understand things, the happier you are. And the less you understand things, the more frustrated you are. You see kids at school are frustrated. They're frustrated because they can't make sense of what's going on. Not just the knowledge itself, not just the academics, but also the social knowledge that is being given to them. Social knowledge is a very important part of who we are. For us to be able to understand people, understand what they want, what they're saying, why they're acting that way, how I'm supposed to act towards them, how am I supposed to find myself amongst this group, and who am I exactly amongst them. That's the knowledge that is very important. It's very satisfying when you understand, and very unsatisfying and very depressing when you don't understand. If you are a part of a group of friends and you fit in well, you always want to be there. That's why men who find that don't want to be in their homes with their wives and kids, because they don't know what to do with this group of people. They're sitting there feeling lost. It's not clear to them what their relationship is. He doesn't get along with his wife very much. He doesn't understand his kids very much. So he doesn't feel like he fits in. So social knowledge isn't there. He doesn't understand what he's supposed to do properly. So he runs away from situations where he feels like he's ignorant and doesn't know what to do. And he goes to a place where he knows exactly what to do, how to speak and who to speak to and what to say. And he understands that the dynamics are clear. They haven't fought together, these friends, for 50, 60 years. They probably never will, because they understand the dynamics are clear. This knowledge is what makes you happy. It's an important part of understanding how we function as human beings. It's very important. And you'll find that, inshallah, we'll all find that in Jannah as well. But focus on it in dunya. So understand, make sure you understand things. Don't let things pass by that you don't understand. A Muslim never does that. Muslims never did that, by the way, in the early ages. I don't know why we do it today. I always have this little, we did it, I think, 2 years ago when we were reading Juz' Amma. Remember when I read Juz' Amma, I asked the question, all right, what is غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبْ? No answers at all. And I'm pretty sure still most of you don't remember what it is. But غَاسِقٍ إِذَا, no one knew. You've been reading this since you were 4. What does it mean? Why are you saying something that makes no sense to you? You're not supposed to do that. Islamically, you're not supposed to do that. In the deen, the Prophet ﷺ never asked the Sahaba to do something that didn't make sense to them. They always questioned. They questioned everything he said, ﷺ. They questioned him, ﷺ. That meant him, he would speak, ﷺ, and they would still ask him. And they would question him, and he would have to answer, ﷺ, because the Quran teaches them to do so. You're supposed to offer your understanding. Offer what you think. Show me, قُلْ أَرُونِي. This is what the ayat are saying. It's you or me. One of us are right, one of us is wrong. We have to hash this out. It has to be based on rationale, and logic has to be based on outcome sometimes. Sometimes we can't really figure out rationally or logically based on debate who is right and wrong. It's going to be based on outcome. Okay, you do it and I'll do it. Right? And then we'll see who's right. Sometimes there's no other way to do it. It's just impossible for us to pinpoint if you're doing it right or I'm doing it right. It's not possible for a variety of reasons. But outcomes will sometimes, pinpoint or will specify. Yeah, you did it right, I did it wrong. After I saw how it all came out. And this is how we've always been as Muslims. And it's only been maybe the last 100 years or 200 years that we started to passively accept everything we hear and everything we listen to. Now, it's in the best interest of every sheikh that that's what you do. that you just be quiet and listen to what I say and just let me go home and you just do whatever I say. That's in my best interest. But it's not in the long-term best interest of the ummah, nor is it what the Quran teaches. The Quran teaches something very different. The Quran teaches that you think for yourself. And I'm saying this right now because I'm preparing you for ayat number 31, 32, and 33 to come. Yes?
Is there a line that we can draw somewhere where there's understanding and there's belief, like just accept it? Like, I mean, it's sometimes hard to draw the line.
Sure. So when it comes to the basics, it has to be based on understanding. It's after you accept the basics, meaning after you established the core part of your faith, what branches out of that core part of your faith that's based on understanding could be things you don't understand. So there's a saying that the best explanation doesn't always need to have an explanation. Okay. So the best explanation doesn't always need an explanation to be the best explanation. So if you and I go, if I take Abu Nasir and we go to the moon or to a different, I don't know, we go into space and we find a planet, and on that planet there's all these houses and all these technological stuff, but there's no one there. There's no one there. So what conclusion can we make of all this? Someone was here, right? Someone intelligent made all this. But I have no evidence of it. I can't really, they're not there. And if I say, well, where did these people come from? You're like, I don't know. Well, who are they? I don't know. And I drill you for 15 minutes. You have no way to explain to me. So you can't explain to me. It's still the best explanation, but it doesn't have an explanation to it. So it's establishing the basics of the faith. When you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do you believe in Him? You look at what He told you to look at. You look at the creation, the universe around you. You look at life itself. You look at history. You look within yourself. These are the 4 places where you look for faith. And you establish faith. You believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once you believe in Him, you submit to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if it doesn't all make sense to you, but you do it because you have a clear understanding of the basics. I already established that. I'm not questioning it anymore because I know why I believe in Him. I didn't believe in Him with no evidence, and now I have to question every single thing He says. No, it's the other way around. But still, what you were told by people like myself, because I'm trying to tell you what He said subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He wants, but it's not Him who's speaking, it's me who's speaking. I'm just a guy. I will make mistakes. I may be biased in sometimes in things I say, so you need to question that. Why? Because the ayat that we're going to read in a few minutes make you. Because I can't carry anything for you, Yawm al-Qiyamah. That you walk behind me, right, and I'm taking you down the wrong road, and then Yawm al-Qiyamah we're all standing in the wrong place, and you're like, Ya Rabb, it's Him, right? It's Him, He did it. I'm like, I have nothing. No. I said what I knew. You could have said yes or no. It's your fault. It's your thing. Now that's tiring for every imam or every sheikh. It's a tiring thing because now people are gonna have questions. But that's how it's done, and that's how he did it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for all his life. And there's nothing. We should not shy away from that. There should be no alternative to that. It's always based on that. You speak and either what you say makes sense and we take it, or it doesn't make sense and we don't take it. And that's fine. It's okay, however, in sittings like this, just to make something clear, for us to all have a common understanding of a few things. Meaning not every halaqah is an open debate of the existence of God. Not every halaqah is going to be like that. Sometimes the people sitting in a group already established that. We already believe in that. That's one of our maxims. That's one of our self-evident issues. We're going to take that point and move forward from it, right? And then someone who comes who doesn't have that self-evident issue, belief, may not fit in this little sitting, which is fine. He fits somewhere else. He's welcome to debate it, but not in every single sitting. Sometimes, that's why in specialty meetings, so if a bunch of hadith scholars are meeting and talking, you may not fit in. Okay, you won't fit in. You'll sit there, you understand nothing, because they have a number of self-evident issues that they've agreed upon, and they're working on things after that you may not have at all, that you may not agree with. So that may not be the perfect place for you to sit. That doesn't mean you can't question their maxims. It doesn't mean you can't question their self-evident beliefs. It's just this may not be the perfect place to do it right now. It'll be more open space. That's an idea to keep in your mind. Whenever you crash a meeting, just make sure you know what are the self-evident issues that they all have here. If you don't agree with all of them, maybe there's not the right place for you to come and talk and look for other place to question them or to bring that. But you're supposed to question what you listen to. You're supposed to question it. If you don't, that's your fault, and your fault alone, and you will carry it alone. And these ayat that we're going to read very soon are going to be filled with that idea. So قُلْ أَرُونِيَ الَّذِينَ أَلْحَقْتُمْ. The final point of dialogue is show me. If you have some evidence, show me. Show me and I'll listen. I told you there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلْ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُم مِّن دُونِهِ. It was said at the beginning, call the ones who you claim without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They own nothing. Yes?
I had a question similar on long read.
how the brother said, like, I was having a debate with one of my friends who also happens to be Muslim. And the person was like, I just believe in Quran, and I don't believe in Hadith.
Yeah.
I was like this is also a fundamental part, because in the last sermon of Prophet ﷺ, he said, leaving behind two things, Quran and Sunnah. So like, how do you prove that aspect?
That's a very
how do you address that?
Yeah, so that's a highly specific or highly specialized point. I wouldn't engage in a debate of that sort if I were you. Getting in those type of debates is actually very demanding. You have to have a lot of, you have to understand the history behind these claims. You have to understand the person himself who's making that claim. Why is he making that claim? Is he a part of a school of thought? Is he just frustrated? Does someone tell him that, and that's what that's his belief based on some hadith he heard that didn't make sense to him? So you have to understand why that came to him and what does he mean by it. So it's not a black and white issue. It's not as simple as we think it is. It's actually much more complex as an issue. But generally speaking, for us to claim that he lived 63 years, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and didn't say a word, it's crazy. Like, he didn't say anything. He didn't do it. He just brought this. No, he lived. He did things. Hadith is what he did, how he lived, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How we deal with what he did and how he lived and what he said. How we deal with it, what weight we apply to it when we're dealing with our daily lives and reading the Quran. That's a whole different issue. And that's open for debate, and that's open for interpretation. That's important that we talk about. But for us to dismiss that he lived a life, act like he didn't live, so I said, first of all, when you do that, you cannot understand the Quran to begin with. The Quran is highly contextual. It'll make no sense at all if you don't know how he lived and what happened to him. And if you don't accept the hadith, then you won't be able to know what exactly went down at that time and what the different stages of his life. Because every surah is addressing a stage that is different than another surah. And if you don't understand the stages, then you can't understand how he lived, alayhi salatu wasalam. You can't understand the Quran. So it's a very highly specialized topic. I wouldn't get into it if I were you. I would refer him to someone who a bit more knowledgeable to help kind of break down why he's thinking like that and maybe offer him some help. But believing in the Quran is a good thing, right? That's at least he has one thing working for him. So hopefully that will help him to find the rest of it. We have a lot of people today who are, I'll take anything at this point, yeah.
They're not like a command or instruction in the Quran that says like follow him or listen to him.
Sure.
And implying that you should follow whatever.
Yeah. But again, it's not as simple as that. What I'm trying to say, it's not an issue that is as simple as just putting it that way, even though it's what you're saying is right and it's not faulted. But it's not as simple as that in terms of having this conversation. There's actually more to it than that. Again, you have to figure out why he's saying that, where that came from, and what caused it to come about, and then it's much more complicated. Maybe inshallah I'll have this needs like a specific maybe sitting just to talk about that specifically. They're called the Quraniyin or Munkirus Sunnah. There's a group. They've been around for a long time. They're not new, and we can address maybe what brought them forward, what they actually believe, why they're like that, and what is it that differs, that makes us different, and how can we also revise the way we look at things sometimes in the light of their claims. So we can do that inshallah maybe in a different setting. We'll maybe have something specific for it. But it is something that should be addressed. I totally agree. The ayah after that, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَّةً لِلنَّاسِ. And this is specific. So this is another unique verse in the Quran and in Surat Saba. And it coming in Surat Saba in a surah that's talking about how communities submit, how they do shukr, how they do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The dialogue we're supposed to have with those who are not like us. The openness we're supposed to have. You do your thing, we'll do our thing, and then it'll be proven either by outcomes or by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you can prove something to us, we'll happily take it. The ayah comes, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ. And we only sent you, kafatan means for everyone, meaning you're going to suffice for everyone. Iktafait, if you're drinking something or eating something, you say iktafait, that means I've had enough. I don't need any more. I am fully sufficed. I don't need anything else. So kafatan linnas, that he was sent, all he was sent was to be kafatan linnas, to be for everyone, to suffice for everyone. No one will need anything after he is sent, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Linnas means to all people. those who believe, bashiran, he will give them the good news of what's to come. And those who don't believe, nadhiran, he will warn them that their way of lives will turn out in a negative way for them. And this is what we do as Muslims. If you're doing something right, then we will give you the good news, inshallah, of khair, outcomes to come for you. And if you're doing something wrong, we will warn you. The warning and the good news doesn't have to be always attached to akhirah, even though it usually is and it should. But I mean, you can also see it in a different context, in a dunya context. If you're studying and you're doing well at school, I'll be a bashir for you. I'll give you the good news that inshallah things will work out for you. You'll make it far. You'll be successful. You'll do. And if you're not, I'll warn you that this is not the right way to go. You're going to be very miserable. You're going to regret this. Could it be attached to Yawm al-Qiyamah? It could be. Sometimes it's not. But the idea as a Muslim, this is how we live. We always identify good traits and wrong traits, things that are being done properly and things that aren't, and we point them out to those who are behaving in each way. Bashir, so the Prophet ﷺ was sent to everyone, kafatan linnas, sufficing all people. He is sent to everyone with no exception, no reservations. No one is accepted from this. Bashiran wa nadhira. If you're doing it right, he'll give you good news, and tell you that things are going to work out for you, inshallah. And if you're doing it wrong, he will warn you and tell you this is not the right way, road to walk down. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most people don't know this. So most people don't know this. Most people mean those who aren't Muslims, but the Muslims know this. So when we talk to other communities and we have dialogues with them like this, that doesn't mean that we are disconnected from them. It never means that we are disconnected and we all do our own thing and we don't care. No, because the Prophet ﷺ, he was sent to everyone, and his message was sent to everyone as well. So when we have something of use to offer others, something of benefit to offer, then we have to offer it, because it's not ours to begin with. It's not our own property. It was given to him ﷺ to give to everyone. I accepted it, so inshallah he's bashir for me. Others didn't accept it, so it's nadhir for them, but it's still their property as well. It's something that they should have access to, and we should ensure that they have proper access to. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا. But most people don't know this. And it's okay that they don't know it. It's important that you know it, that I know it, so that when we take his knowledge, we take ﷺ, what he taught us, we make sure that it's extrapolated to others, and others can benefit from his way of thought, in his way of life. And this is coming in Surat Saba in the way that it does, makes it very important for us to understand and to think about, because it's here saying that yes, societies will differ. You'll have Dawood and Sulaiman's type, and you'll have Saba's type, and you'll have this dialogue. Never forget that he was sent to everyone, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not us and them. He is the prophet of all humanity. They may be living that differently than what he wanted, but they're still being addressed by the words he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and by the thoughts that he brought, and by the ways that he endorsed. And it's important that we don't forget that it's not a matter of good and evil. Good should take out. No. It's the idea that he was sent to everyone, and everything he taught is the property, and everyone owns it. Everyone has a shot at this, and everyone deserves to listen to it, to be taught it, and to also participate and contribute to it as well. So what did they say? وَيَقُولُونَ. Well, they have a comeback. مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. When is this promise of yours? If you are truthful, tell us when this is going to happen. When is Yawm al-Qiyamah happening? You're pounding our heads that there's going to be judgment, and you're going to be asked, and you have to live in a certain way, or else Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're going to stand there, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to break down everything for you. You're going to have to defend it. So when is this day? In kuntum sadiqeen. If you're so truthful and honest about things, how about you tell me when it's going to be? And the question is always when. Poor human being. You always ask the wrong questions. We always want to know when. When was never offered. Like, no one knows when. The Prophet ﷺ himself, يَسْأَلُونَكَ كَأَنَّكَ حَفِيٌّ عَنْهَا. They're asking you as if you know. You don't know. No one knows. This is something only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. This is His knowledge subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one knows exactly when it's going to be. The question when is a dumb question. You're not supposed to be asking when. How many times was he asked that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his life? Many, many times. It would come to him, when is Yawm al-Qiyamah? And he would always answer them in a way, either telling them by, the person you're asking does not know more than the person who just asked, I don't know when, but I can tell you some signs, so you can be aware of those signs and make sure you don't participate. He was asked when, and he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, well, what have you prepared? Let's focus on the most and more important. What do you have ready for it? It's happening, isn't that enough? When shouldn't be much of an issue for you, as long as it's going to happen, as long as it's inevitable, as long as there's no possibility that it's not going to happen. When shouldn't be much of a deal. So what have you prepared? And then people would think about that again. Qiyamah, Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of judgment is one thing, and death is our personal Qiyamah. Your personal Yawm al-Qiyamah is when you die, and that's inevitable as well. You can prolong it as much as you like. You will all die. We are all dying right now, just to make it, just to bring some optimism into the halaqah, to make sure everyone's, just to make you all feel optimistic. We're all dying. No, it is the truth. Accepting death, understanding death, making sure that the way you see it is proper is one of the biggest things, or the biggest aspects of being a Muslim. It's just understanding death and accepting it. Living in this era, anywhere, death is never spoken of. Death is always being put aside. We don't want to talk about death. We don't want to think about death. Death is not something you ever want to be a part of. That's why we're never prepared for it. That's why when people die, we act in ways that are, they're not proper. We don't have, because we're not prepared for others to die. We're not prepared for ourselves to die, even though we know 100% we're going to die. Isn't it weird? It's the only fact you have right now about your life. You know nothing of what's going to happen in the future. Nothing at all. You hope for stuff, but you know nothing. Well, you know nothing, especially if you're young. You think you know. You have no idea how many curveballs are waiting for you as you move forward in life. You're going to be knocked down so many times, my friend. But you have no idea what's going to happen, but you do know for a fact that you're going to die. That is 100%. No, I'm definitely dying. And yet it's the least conversed about topic, and it's the least thing we prepare for. And it's very... Doesn't that strike you as odd? It's the only fact we have, yet we don't want to engage in it at all. Like, we don't want to talk about it. So the Prophet ﷺ, teaching has always been, okay, you don't know when it's going to happen, just maybe focus on how you're going to live your life in a way, so that when it does happen, you're ready. I've seen people die as a physician and as someone who works in Islamic da'wah. So I've seen people die in different situations and in different countries and different ages, and they don't die. We don't die all alike. We don't. We actually pass away quite differently. Some people pass away and they're very, very prepared for it. They have no problem with it. They're not afraid of death. I've seen it myself. I've always been afraid of death. Everyone's afraid of death, and that's fine. You're supposed to be afraid of death. No one wants to be not around anymore. No one wants to disappear from this story. It's scary, but you will see people who are very well prepared. Those who have lived a life that makes them feel that, yeah, it's okay. Bring it on. I'm ready. Inshallah khair. I've done my best, and I'm still doing my best, and whenever my time comes, I'm ready to move on. And I've seen people who aren't. And religion is supposed to be something that serves you in that perspective, but sometimes it doesn't. And I've seen non-Muslims being more prepared for death than Muslims. I've seen it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How come?
Yeah, I think there's more. There's more to talk about regarding this issue.
Do you mean in terms of feeling? Sorry for interrupting.
Sorry?
Do you mean in terms of feeling?
Yeah. People who are accepting. Yeah, people who are accepting of death. And accepting of and feel like they're ready to move on, more than a Muslim person who maybe lived a life that he never thought about like that. So when time came, he wasn't ready to move on. He hadn't spent enough time thinking about this. He hadn't spent enough time preparing for it. Others who maybe don't believe in God at all have spent enough time thinking about it that at least they have something that they're willing to endorse or willing to buy into so that they can move on. It's important. As a Muslim, you have to have the right perspective of death. Death is not khair. We never praise death. We're never happy about it. We're never celebrating something. You never celebrate someone's death. Even if they're a shaheed, you don't celebrate their death. Death is not to be celebrated. When someone dies, that's the moment where the people don't write anything anymore. You don't have another chance. Nothing you do counts from this moment forward. That's a scary thought. I can't redeem myself anymore. Right now, no matter what you've done, you can still redeem yourself. You can find redemption, you can repent, you can fix your ways. No matter what you've done, it doesn't matter. You can find your way. The moment you die, it's over. It doesn't matter what you think after that point. It doesn't matter what new truths you stumble upon and what feelings you have. No one cares anymore. You're stuck. You're going to be judged for eternity, for the time that you lived. That's it. Everything after that doesn't matter anymore. So death is never khair. Death is never a good thing, because it's shortening the time you have to do better and to improve yourself. And that's why we should want to live longer, so we can do better. But we want to live longer for the wrong reason, because we're scared of death. We're not ready for it. We don't understand how to deal with it. We're not sure what to do next. So it's asking when. That's what we ask when. Give me when. I want to know when. So I can, if I know when, then I can make sure I have tawbah like beforehand, or just tell me when. It's not about when. That's why the ayah, قُلْ لَكُمْ مِيعَادُ يَوْمٍ. Tell them there is an appointment. Mi'ad is an appointment. A day of, an appointment on a day. لَا تَسْتَأْخِرُونَ عَنْهُ سَاعَةً. You cannot postpone it or come late to it 1 hour. وَلَا تَسْتَقْدِيمُ. Nor can you come to it early. It is an appointment, it's a set day, it's a set appointment. And you're all going to come to it. You can't be late, you can't postpone, you can't book early, you can't book late. You can come to that appointment, all of you. Just know that. You don't need to know when. See, the ayah didn't say when. You don't have to know when. Doesn't matter when. Just know that you're going to come. You're going to be there. You can't be absent. You can't take a sick day. You can't, have another day for judgment. You can't. Maybe your name falls off the records and one of the malaika mixes up and forgets you, and you stay, and no. You're going to be there on time, and you're going to be held accountable. Just keep that in your mind as you move forward in life. Okay, do we have a few more minutes, or? Okay, we do. Perfect. So we're going to read an ayah after it, so I can, so it'll make sense to you why I gave that little introduction at the beginning of the halaqah, and something to think about. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَن نُؤْمِنَ بِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ وَلَا بِالَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ.
وقال الذين كفروا لن نؤمن بهذا القرآن ولا بالذي بين يديه
ولو ترى إذ الظالمون موقوفون عند ربهم
ولو ترى إذ الظالمون موقوفون عند ربهم
يرجع بعضهم إلى بعض القول يقول الذين استضعفوا للذين استكبروا لولا أنتم لكنا مؤمنين. And the disbelievers, what they say, what they said was, لَن نُؤْمِنَ بِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ وَلَا بِالَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. Their final conclusion is, we're not going to believe in this Qur'an or anything that came before it or anything that is similar to it. This is their conclusion. They don't want to believe. But of course, the ayat before have already established that even if they don't, this is the dialogue that you're going to have. You're going to say this. That's an important ayah here. And you may be wondering why did the ayah say that? Because without that ayah, you may think that if you had that dialogue with them, that was going to lead to everyone who doesn't believe to believe. But the dialogue happened. قل, say this and say this and this, and they're still going to tell you we're not going to believe. And they're going to ask you about Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're going to answer the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to answer, and they're still going to tell you we're not going to believe in the Qur'an or anything that came before. وَلَا بِالَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ means everything that came before it, meaning the Injil, the Torah, and all the books that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to all the prophets within history. So meaning that this dialogue is not going to necessarily lead to the disbelievers, the community that don't believe, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That wasn't the point of it. The point is establishing what are the dynamics we're going to have with others who don't believe. This is what we're going to base it on. You do your thing, we do our thing. The Prophet that we have and what he brought sallallahu alaihi wasallam is for everyone, and outcomes will be the judge between us, and Yawm al-Qiyamah will judge between us. If you're asking us about Yawm al-Qiyamah, just know that it's going to happen, prepare for it, and that's your best shot at it. And they're still going to say we don't want to believe, which is fine, which is not, that's their choice. However, now the ayat transfer to a new chapter and the transfer happens in the middle of the ayah. And I love it when it happens like that. It's so rare in the Quran. Usually when a new chapter begins in a surah, it's at the beginning of an ayah. But every once in a while you'll find it happening in the middle of an ayah, so that you can't stop midway. Like you physically can't stop. You have to continue. I mean, yes, it's a new chapter, but it is so attached to us before. It's a continuation that is so important, so embedded in what we just talked about, that you have to read it. And it happens a couple of times in the Quran. Here's one of them. So the new chapter starts at وَلَوْ تَرَى. Something new. This is a new chapter in the surah. But it's right in the middle of the ayah, so you have no choice but to continue. And when you see, and when the time comes and you see, or only if you could see, that's what the وَلَوْ تَرَى, and only if you could see, Ya Muhammad. إِذِ الظَّالِمُونَ, as the oppressors are موقوفون, have been held. Mawqufun is like when you're arrested. Arrested. So mawquf meaning they've been held. Stay there, please. Mawqufun عند ربهم. They've been held within the vicinity and the presence of their Lord. They are oppressors. They've been labeled, so they know who they are, and they know what's happened and where they're going. يَرْجِعُ بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ الْقَوْلِ. They're going back and forth in dialogue amongst each other. They're talking back and forth, quietly, low voices, but they're talking. They've been told, stand here, please, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ready to judge you, and it's your time. So as they're standing there, these oppressors, the ones who refused all of this, just so you understand that the Quran is not telling you that, oh, you can do whatever you want. No. There's right and wrong. Wrong, this is what's going to happen to wrong. But however, how you deal with wrong as dunya is a different thing. How we're supposed to deal with the communities who don't live by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be that of tolerance, has to be that of proof, has to be that of evidence, has to be that of an open dialogue, an open debate. Let's see who's right. Maybe وَإِنَّا أَوْ إِيَّاكُمْ. It's us or you who is right. You're not لَا تُسْأَلُونَ عَمَّا أَجْرَمْنَا. You're not going to be asked and held accountable for what mistakes we've made. Nor will we be asked about what you do. Allah will bring us together and He will judge amongst us. Our Prophet is kafat al-nas. He's for everyone. Everyone can benefit from what he brought, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if you're interested to know about when Yawm al-Qiyamah, prepare for it, is more better for you. And they still won't listen. Waiting for you. So yes, in dunya, that's the perspective, that's the dialogue that we had with them, and that's how we dealt with them. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, it's not, there's right and wrong. And what you're supposed to be trying to do is to make sure Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're on the right side. You did things right, you lived right. Not, if you didn't, okay, this is what's going to happen. وَلَوْ تَرَى, and only if you could see, إِذِ الظَّالِمُونَ مَوْقُوفُونَ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, as the oppressors and the persecutors and those who refused have been held in the vicinity of their Lord, in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَرْجِعُ بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ الْقَوْلِ. They're going back and forth talking to each other. يَقُولُ الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا. The ones who had the lower hand, the ones who were kind of the followers, if you may, the people who were forcefully made ignorant, or the ones who didn't have the wealth, and didn't have the money, didn't have the power, didn't control the media, didn't really have a voice, just the average guy, who just did whatever his leaders told him to do, or whoever he had put his trust into. Still da'if, they're weak. Da'if is weak. Still da'if means they've been put in a place where they were made weak. And this in its own is just studying that word is its own dars. That you've been made weak. You're not weak by nature. You were made weak. Maybe you allowed yourself to be weak. Maybe you spent your youth playing video games and wasting your time. By the time you were 30, you found you didn't know anything. And other 30-year-olds knew way more than you because they didn't waste their time. And now you don't have an opinion that's worthy of sharing. So you just have to take whatever opinion the other guy has, because he knows more. But it's not your opinion, it's his opinion. You're just adopting it, because you don't know. You didn't read. You never spent time gathering knowledge. You don't have any experiences, right? And life now is knocking on the doors, and you have to live, and you're gonna be asked questions that matter. Oh, so what do you think about this? And you'll be like, I don't. And then so you pick up anyone's opinion. Yeah, well, I heard the Sheikh said something about this. Or maybe if you're lucky, if you're unlucky, or not, sometimes not even if you're unlucky, it could be a Sheikh who said something that totally wrong. But you pick up someone else's opinion, it's not really yours. You get embedded, you get invested in that opinion. You follow that opinion. You follow the person who said it. But it could be wrong. Could be wrong. Just like I said, you understand why I started the beginning. Yeah, you just went with, you had someone else who you followed. You didn't question what they said. You didn't question what they were thinking. You didn't hold them accountable for their thoughts. You didn't think for yourself. So the ladina still da'if, the ones who were made weak in dunya, who were weak mentally and weak on other levels as well. The ladina istakbaru, to the ones who were given a larger place than they deserved. Istakbara can mean being arrogant or being vain. It could mean that. But here I don't think that's what it means. What it means is that they were made bigger than they actually were. So they're blown out of proportion in terms of their size, in the importance of their opinions and the importance of what they say. Those who dictated and said things and everyone listened, and the ones who were weak and just listened. So Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're standing beside each other. So the guy who listened is standing with the guy who probably he never met him during his life. They probably too far away from a status perspective to ever meet him. So he never actually got to sit with him or ask him a question. But now he's sitting there. So he looks at him and he says, لَوْلَا أَنْتُمْ, if it wasn't for you guys, لَكُنَّا مُؤْمِنِينَ, we would have all been believers. Right? You're the one who told us that all this is wrong and not to listen to it, and this is how we're supposed to understand it, and that they're all a bunch of this and they're all a bunch of that, and these people are like this. You're the ones who poisoned our minds with all the garbage that we ended up listening to. And had you not said all this stuff, we would have been believers. Look at the other guy. I used to work with him. Look, he's a believer. He's going there. Why am I here? Because I listened to you. It's your fault. Yeah. It would be nice if it worked out like that, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be nice? It would be awesome if things were like that. I would definitely be a follower. Why spend any time? Khalas, I'll just follow you. If you're wrong, you take the the responsibility. I get to go in the other way. It's not my problem. It wasn't my fault. But that's not how it works. It's a scary thing. I don't know if you ever thought about it like that. It's a very scary thing. You and only you will be held accountable for what you think and what you believe and what you do. You and only you. You cannot blame anyone. Anyone, doesn't matter. You're going to want to blame your parents. They raised me like this. You're going to want to blame your teachers. You're going to want to blame your friends and peer pressure. You're going to want to blame maybe the sheikh who was talking or the other person. It just doesn't work. All you had was your free will. Exercise it. Use it, because it's all you've got. So if I tell you to do something, it doesn't make sense to you, don't do it. You are at fault if you do. Even if what I told you was right. Even if I told you to do something and it's right, but you can't make sense of it. You look at everything, it doesn't make sense, and you still do it, you're wrong for doing it. Because you gave up your free will to a person. You never give up your free will to a person. You give up your free will to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is why He is Allah and we're just people. I tell you, do this. You ask me why, I say, there's no reason, just do it. And then you do it, you're wrong. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do something. And you do it, then you're right, because He's Allah. So unless you're treating some other person as Allah, which is problematic, you never give up your free will. You never give up your free will. That's why it's important to me when you're raising your kids. Never use it like that. We all do it. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of doing it and all. But we shouldn't. And your kid says, why should I do something? Don't say just because I said so. No, not because you said so. Why? What do you mean because you said so? Who are you? Like, what do you mean? Like we're just a dude. Like I'm just another guy. I'm a few years older than him. In a few years I'll lose my mind and he'll be much smarter than me. And then he'll tell me what to do and I'll just do it because he said so. No, that's not how it works. The only one that you give up your will for is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everyone else you have to question. You have to ask. You have to think. لولا أنتم لكنا مؤمنين. If it wasn't for you, we'd be believers. Of course, the other group doesn't give up easily. They're not going to say, yeah, you're right. It wasn't for us. No. They have their comebacks. It's a dialogue. It's a very scary one. You find it in the Quran at least 3 or 4 times. You'll find it in the Quran in different places, in different wordings. It's a very interesting topic to study. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reinforces for us that you are responsible for your life. Take responsibility for it. Make your choices. Your free will is sacred. Treat it as such. Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, I don't care. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not care who told you to do what. He's not interested in that point. Ya Rabbi, I did it because, no. This person said, no. You did it, right? Okay. So let's take that point. We'll hash out that point. You did it. And of course you're focused on, well, because someone, Habibi, I'm not interested in who told you. Did you do it? Yes, I did. Okay, then that's what we're going to talk about. And think about it when it comes to the way we raise our kids and the way that we treat our own choices. We are often preoccupied with who gave us the advice, or who told us to do it, or whose order it was, right? And kids get occupied with that. It wasn't my fault. He told me, and then you try to explain to your kid, no. It's not about, what do you mean he said and he did? You're the one who hit him, right? You hit him? Yeah, okay. I'm not interested in who told you to and who provoked you. You did it. That's what we're going to focus on. If they learn to do that, by the way, you give them a head start in life, because that's what Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to sound like. This is what Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to sound like. It's going to sound like that. You did it? Okay, we'll talk about that. And you're preoccupied by other things that you didn't. Someone else told you, that the context, that the situation, the circumstances, the pressure, you had. None of it matters. You did it. You have to talk about that now. And if you don't have that ready, if you can't, explain why, that you did it and you're ready to defend it, then stop doing it. Whatever it may be, stop it immediately or repent. Ask Allah for forgiveness and seek help if you don't know how to stop. Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, no one will carry for you. Your father won't. He'll run away from you. Your mother will. They don't want to see you. Actually, the reason they say that parents run away from kids when there's no good relationships of iman, because they don't want to give them hasanat. I don't think that's right. I think it's because of accountability. I think because when a disbelieving son sees his believing or disbelieving mother, they don't want to see each other because now the mother's like, he's going to probably try to pin this on me. No, I don't have time for this. I can barely take care of my own books. I can't take care of what I did and what my kid did and then his kids until Yawm al-Qiyamah. I can't do that. So she runs. And they run away from each other because they're scared that they're going to pin it on each other. You and I did something wrong together for a few years. I see you Yawm al-Qiyamah. I don't want to see you. يُبَصَّرُونَهُمْ. I see you and then I look away. Allah subhanahu makes me see you so I can be reminded, but then I run away. I don't want to يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. I run away because I'm scared that you may come and tell me, I didn't want to do it actually. You're the one who made me do it. And then it start accusations. And the Quran is filled with these dialogues of accusation. They're the ones who started it. They're the ones who told us. He's the one who forced me. No one cares. No one cares. Do we have 5 minutes or are we done? Okay, let's read what's left of the ayat. قال الذين استكبروا للذين استضعفوا أنحن صددناكم عن الهدى بعد إذ جاءكم بل كنتم مجرمين وقال الذين استضعفوا للذين استكبروا بل مكر الليل والنهار إذ تأمروننا أن نكفر بالله ونجعل له أندادا وأسروا الندامة لما رأوا العذاب وجعلنا الأغلال في أعناق الذين كفروا هل يجزون إلا ما كانوا يعملون So the Dina Stakbaru, the ones who were given a bigger position and more status than they actually deserved, the ones who were blown out of proportion in their importance, they looked to the ones who were made weak in their lives, whether by their own choice or the choice of others. أَنَحْنُ صَدَدْنَاكُمْ. Are we the ones who physically pushed you away from believing? We held you back. I came and I held you back and I didn't let you, believe into it. And it was a belief system. You could just believe it. You don't know what I believe. You can't even control it. You can put a gun to my head and I can say whatever you want, but you can't control what's actually going in my mind and in my heart. No one can. أَنَحْنُ صَدَدْنَاكُمْ عَنِ الْهُدَى. We're the ones who physically held you back and put obstacles for you, finding guidance. بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَكُمْ. After it was made clear to you. No, we didn't do it. بَلْ كُنْتُمْ مُجْرِمِينَ. The actual issue is that you were a criminal just like us. You were the ones who decided, who liked what we said. You're the ones who clapped for me when I said it. You're the ones who nodded your head when I said it. If you all said no, I would have no one to listen to me and then I would walk away. Fir'aun is Fir'aun because he has a bunch of people who supported him. No one can run an evil country if there's no population in it. You need people to clap for the person who's speaking. It's a two-way road. بل كنتم مجرمين. You're the ones who lived a life of crime. You're the ones who decided not to accept this. We didn't physically hold you back. Shaitan's going to say the same thing Yawm al-Qiyamah. Right? There's a long khutbah for Shaitan. Iblis will stand up and give a khutbah. Like I have to clarify things here, everyone. To be clear, I didn't force anyone to do anything. I just called and you came. I didn't. You could have easily said no to all of this. So stop blaming me. Blame yourselves. I have my own problems to deal with today. There's a huge punishment waiting for me. I don't have time for you to come and ask me why I did what I did. You're the one who listened. It's your fault and your fault alone. Carry it. Accept accountability. Accept the responsibility for it. So of course the dialogue's not done yet. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا. The weaker ones. They say to the ones who they followed, or the stronger ones, بَلْ مَكْرُ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. And I love this verse in the Quran because it's so it's very descriptive, and it has a figurative. Makr is plotting. Makr is for you to plot. So for you to put a plan, come up with a way of manipulating someone to do something. That's what makr means. Makr means that something's happening behind the scenes that no one knows about. That's not being made public. It's not clear cut. It's not honest. So they say, no, that's not true. That's not true that we were mujrimeen and that you didn't hold us back. You guys plotted layli wa nahar, night and day. You were plotting night and day to try and manipulate the way we think and manipulate the way we behave. Because now Yawm al-Qiyamah, everything's made clear. Everything is clear, Yawm al-Qiyamah. There's nothing being questioned anymore. There's nothing of doubt. They get to see, oh, this is what happened. Oh, wow, they played us. Look at all the lies. Look at all the deceit. Look at all that. But it's too late. You were already played. The game's over and you lost. The game's over and you were played. And they'll say, بَلْ مَكْرُ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. No, night and day, you plotted against us. You plotted to get us to manipulate our opinion and manipulate the way we think. إِذْ تَأْمُرُونَنَا, as you commanded us, أَن نَكْفُرَ بِاللَّهِ, to disbelieve in Allah, وَنَجْعَلَ لَهُ أَنْدَادًا, and to make associates for Him, or to put equals to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever you hear that, nid or sharik, or whenever you hear equals to Allah or associates of Allah, don't think of the rock-like idol. If you and I were living in the 7th century in Arabia, then you would, and you should. But today it's not like that. When shirk is done, it's not done based on an idol or a piece of rock. I don't know of Muslims anywhere who are worshipping rocks anymore. People don't worship rocks. It's a different type of shirk that's happening. It's when you accept other people's words without questioning the way you would accept the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At that point you've done shirk in a different form, in a different way though. Because the only one that you will follow blindly, the only one who you will follow without questioning and without reason to it, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says it clearly to you. Everyone else you need to question, because you're going to be held accountable for what you do. It's your choice and you have to be able to defend it. You have to be able to defend it. It's as simple as that. It's as clear cut as that. You commanded, you're commanding us to not believe in Allah, and you're giving us substitutes, others to believe in. Maybe those others weren't rocks, they could be human beings. They could be other references and other resources and other ideologies and ways of thoughts that you saw as sacred, and you didn't see the word of Allah to be more sacred than that, and you equalized them if you didn't even put that before the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Yawm al-Qiyamah, there's nothing you can say. But do they benefit? Okay, they get the last word in this dialogue. The last word is for the weaker side. So the debate is going back and forth, and the last person who gets to speak is the one. Usually, the last person who speaks is the one who wins, right? He won. Destroy the rationale of the person in front of him. So what happens after they say that? وَأَسَرُّوا النَّدَامَةَ لَمَّا رَأَوُا الْعَذَابَ. They kept their regrets secret. All of them. They kept their regrets secret when they saw the punishment. Because as they're talking, both sides are talking, and then punishment is risen, so they could see it, and they kept their regrets secret. They were ashamed, and they didn't want everyone to see how regretful of everything that they've done. Whether the weak side, whether the stronger side, the ones who followed, the followers, the followed, doesn't matter. Everyone at that moment will just keep that regret secret. وَأَسَرُّوا النَّدَامَةَ لَمَّا رَأَوُا الْعَذَابَ. وَجَعَلْنَا الْأَغْلَالَ فِي أَعْنَاقِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And we put the chains in the necks of all the disbelievers, the weak and the strong, all the same. The chains were put in the necks of all of them. هَلْ يُجَزَوْنَ إِلَّا مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Will they be rewarded or punished with anything but what they've done? Do you think anyone's going to be dealt with Yawm al-Qiyamah or dished out something that he didn't do, or something that they did not inflict in dunya? No. They're just going to get what they've done. It will not help you Yawm al-Qiyamah. When you come forward and say, I wasn't the leader, I was just listening, I was just another guy, I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the ability, I didn't have the status, I didn't have the strength, I didn't have the money, I didn't have this, I didn't have that. Yawm al-Qiyamah, that means nothing. That means nothing. It's just you did what you did and you made your choices pay for them. So when someone like me sits around and talks, listen, but question everything you hear. And if what you hear you don't like, then speak up, or don't accept it, or throw it away, because I can't carry anything for you Yawm al-Qiyamah. You can't come and say, okay, by the way, you said this that day, and I did it, and it turned out to be wrong. So if you don't mind, here's the the bill. I can't pay it. I mean, no, I'm not taking anything from you, right? And no one else will do it either. You did it. You take care of it. So as long as you're paying the bill, make sure you order what you want. I'll give you the advice. I'll tell you what I want. Others will do the same. And take advice from people, but understand that Yawm al-Qiyamah, no one will carry it for you but yourself. Okay, so we'll end with that. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Shadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin.